So today we're talking about food photography props, the one that make your photos pop. There's a lot of things to tell today, but first of all, I will talk about some specific things you have to think about first, and it's not the first thing you think are props. You have to think about other things first. And later I will share some of my tricks and some of my tools that help me get the photos and I like. And at the end, I will also share some resources where I buy my props. And you will, of course, have some time to question me anything you like. So let's move on. Okay. So whatever it is that you're shooting, it doesn't really matter. You have to think about the story. So your food photo is a story. It's not a long story, but it's a quick, short little story. You have to think about the story of food. And as a food photographer, it's your job to bring those stories to life. Your props are there to help you tell that story. They help you evoke emotions, help you evoke memories, and hold your viewer's attention. So you have to think about the story first, and props will just help you tell it. What is important is that food should always be your hero. It's very easy to get trapped into all those beautiful props and with all the patterns and unique ceramics, and you want to have it all, especially at the beginning. But props should only complement the food and not the other way around. So your food should always be the hero. The first thing you notice on the photo should be your food, not the props. So you can always start with the story and the biggest strength of the dish or the food that you are shooting. So is it the freshness, the texture, the color, the shape? What is that specific characteristics that you want to show in your photo? So what kind of feelings does your food bring? Is it, I don't know, is it hot chocolate and you want to show the coziness? You want to show comfort? You want to show how a specific drink is fresh? So you always have to have that in mind. And the choice of props will only follow regarding the decisions you had at the very beginning. So let's just talk about some basic things first. It matters if you have a really beautiful food that is attractive at their own, and you don't need a lot of props for that. Or when you have like unattractive, ugly foods. I mean ugly, but unattractive foods where you need more of food stylings, more layers in terms of food and in terms of props, and you need to work harder to make this look really beautiful. Further on, it's so hard a bit at the beginning when it's so much things to talk about and it's hard to find your style. And I know when I was just starting, I feel a need that I just need to buy everything. I want that and I want that style and the other style, and it becomes, I don't know. I had a lot of props, but when I started to shoot, I didn't have any actual item that I would like or I would love to enjoy into my scene. So what I did, I was observing the photos that I like the most from the creatives I adore, and I would save those photos and try to analyze them intentionally, very intentionally. That it means what kind of backdrops are they using? What is their color? What is the feel of the photos they're using? Is that something that I would like, but I don't have props yet? I can't achieve that story yet, but is that what my future style would love to be? And so I started from there and make my list of the props, or maybe check which, I don't know, which ceramics they use from which manufacturer. And then I would try to buy a piece by piece, but doing it slowly and very intentionally, where at the beginning I was just like buying anything that sounds and looked nice. So I would just say when you begin, start with neutrals, start with white, beige, gray. You can buy those things in thrift store or wherever you find them to be cheap. So at the beginning, start with those cheaper items and they can be your base and you can use them over and over again because they're not so memorable. And if you combine them with some quality unique ceramic pieces, you will get a very nice mix that you can play on and on. So handmade pieces have more personality, and even if the rest in your scene is basics, throwing some of those unique pieces will really elevate your images. So another thing I would like to say is start with smaller plates. I mean, always use smaller plates and cutlery, because putting food on a plate that is a little smaller than one you normally use just gives the appearance that there is more on the plate and that the food item is larger than it actually is. And also use your salad forks and smaller spoons up to the side of the dishes to give the appearance that the food is bigger than it actually is. You will achieve better results when using smaller plates, and you will style it more easily. You will fit more items on the scene, and it's generally more eye-pleasing to look at. The next thing I feel that a lot of beginners get trapped in is patterns. So be very meaningful about using patterns. They can be really beautiful in both props and backgrounds. When you see all those beautiful napkins with bold patterns, you would like to have them all. And I know when I'm searching for backgrounds, I always fall in love with those beautiful bold ones. But patterns are really for signature pieces that you will use now and then. So it's okay if you have a few of them and you incorporate them in some of the photos, but patterns can really compete with your story, or even worse, compete with the food itself. So be very cautious when using very patterned dishes, or not dishes, plates or napkins, and take your time. When you will feel more confident, then you will easily put them on the scene and not overwhelm everything with them. The next thing that we are always looking on our photos is how to add textures. And adding texture to a photo is a good way to lend a sense of depth and realism, to add something that attracts our eye. And it's very easy doing this by using textiles such as napkins, tablecloths. And if you're not doing some really, I don't know, formal scene, then don't iron your tablecloth, because when it's all wrinkled, you create some source of interest and make photo more elaborate. And the next thing that I love to do is using layering. If you take a look at my photos, you can see that I use a lot of layering, and this is where props comes very handy. And I think that with layering, you instantly elevate your food photography to next level. You can use wooden boards, napkins, newspapers, a stack of books. We will talk about that later on. But here it is when you really can use your props to elevate your story. Because I don't know if you take a look at this photo in the middle, is just a muffin. But when adding right props and elevate it and lift it, suddenly you have a story. And at the beginning, it was just some prop. It was just a muffin and dusting sugar. So the thing that really affects your choice of props is your choice of lens. So are you normally shooting small or big scenes? And if you're just focusing on the food itself, you will most likely not need a lot of props. And if you shoot wider table scenes, then you will need a lot more of them. And most of us are somewhere in between. It's just good that you're thinking about the way you normally shoot and adjust accordingly. So let's look at specific type of props, because there's like people have full-time jobs as food stylists, and creating a collection of props is an art, and it's hard to tell everything in this short minutes. But yes, it's definitely something to be very conscious about and to take your time, because your style elevates with time and you become more aware of what you like and what you need. So don't try to rush and don't try to do it all at the beginning, but see where your works brings you. So let's start with glasses. If you're ever stuck for balancing your composition or adding props in your backgrounds that would quietly merge with your hero food and yet add interest, then place a glass into the edge of your composition and you will always have the effect you need. But when you are styling just the drink, focus entirely on the story that is happening inside the glass. This is where all the magic happens, and this is where you have to put your special attention. So your choice of glasses and your choice of garnishes, your choice of drinks is really important when you're shooting drinks. I would suggest you have a mix of heights and sizes of glasses, so this helps you create interest. Avoid distracting patterns on glasses, because they will just put the attention on the glass instead of on the drink. And if you have a chance, go search for unique pieces, because unique pieces really tell you the unique story. And avoid very thick glass, because delicate glassware looks much better in photos, as you don't get any discoloration or distortion of the food, of the drink. And you can also avoid buying sets of glasses, because you are not likely to use them all at once, except if you're mainly focusing on the wider table scenes. So just make sure that you have a large variety of different glasses, and normally you would pick smaller glasses, not the big one, because you will most likely easily put them on the scene and they will look good there. Okay, and let's talk about plates. It's very helpful if you have salad plates in neutral colors like white, gray, and beige. You usually need only one or two pieces of the same rather than a full dinner collection. You can save your money here and spend it somewhere else. And where possible, go for matte props that don't have shine. You want to think about how props pick up the light and reflections on your set, and shine can be distracting. And as I said, go for smaller props so they will not compete with the food itself. If we move on to backdrops, there's a wide variety of backdrops providers that really offers high quality backdrops these days. I know just 3-4 years ago it was quite difficult to find the quality ones, but now you can have a really quality vinyl backdrops for not breaking the bank. So we'll have vinyl backdrops because they're transportable, easy to storage, and perfect for shots that require spilling, splashes, messy scenes. But I also like wooden backdrops because they're adding textures. They're great with backlight, and you can create really that cozy feeling with real wood that I especially like. But as we're talking about backdrops, really don't get limited with thinking that you don't have enough of them, because a lot of things can be your backdrop. It can be your floor, some interesting tiles. It can be your clothes. It can be, I don't know, a baking tray can be your backdrop. A lot of things that you already own, you can use some, I don't know, neutral blanket can be your backdrop. A lot of things you can use, and it will not get noticed on the photo. And you can also make your own backdrops. You can find a lot of tutorials on the internet and also on the Instagram, and they're very, very easy and cheap to make. If you move on to napkins, I suggest to use linens. Linens are easiest to fold and swirl nicely in the frame, and they're soft. It's much easier to style them the way you want, because I don't know if there's any worse thing than spending 20 minutes on a single napkin and trying to organize it in the scene the way you want. But with linens, it's actually easier to do that. So when you're on a budget, you can buy fabric at the fabric store and just use it as a cloth. I did that and I like it, because this can get pricey. But napkins are a very easy way to have some textural interest or pop of color. And as I said before at the beginning, you may want to try with neutral colors like beige gray, and then you will upgrade as you will feel that you need more colors in your scenes. As we're talking about cutlery, I would suggest that you create a small collection of rustic mate spoons, forks, and a couple of knives. It's interesting that rustic spoons and cutlery works with almost every style you shoot, because they just add some personality. And you find those things at antique markets and shops. So those are those fine, small, tiny bowls that are usually reserved for garnishes and sauces and seasonings. Those are those bowls that I was so excited at the beginning of my career. And I think that I would get a little bit carried away and I was buying too much of them. But pinch bowls are a great way to add balance to your images as well as interest. And they're also very useful to add small pops of color in your food photography without overwhelming or distracting. And it's very nice to have a nice collection of them. The next thing you would like to have are wooden desk. Wooden desk and cutting boards and other rustic pieces of wood are an easy way to add a layer. And it's very nice to have a few of them in different sizes and shapes. I have my husband made a few of them for me, and I really love using them in all kinds of scenes, because they really helps create layers and add that special wow factor to photo. Another thing you would like to have in your collections are baking trays, and they are not only reserved for baking cookies and bread. They work great as backdrops and can be used for layering in your composition. Their shape also allows for framing your food and then add a rustic, homely touch to your photos. And you would like to search for trays that have a few signs of wear and tear, because aged pieces tell a better story. And now that we went through all different kinds of props that you may need, it's like that we go through some of creative ways to use what you already have at your home. And the purpose here is to think of out of the box. So let's say this first photo on the left with cookies, those cookies were placed on some round box that decorations came in, and I felt it is just perfect for those cookies. So I just used a little bit of parchment paper, and I think it's the perfect box for that. And in the middle, we have a stand, which is made of vase and a big plate. And at the last photo, we have some old drawer from my table that I use it as a place to put my muffins and strawberries in. So nothing that would be intended for food photography, but it can create a really nice way to showcase your food. So about cake stands, you can easily do it yourself by turning a bowl upside down or using the candle holder or a vase, and then placing a bigger plate on top of it. So all those pre-photos and those cake stands were made this way, and I love it because I can choose either candle holder or some small bowl, and I can use the one that I like the height the most, so how high I want to place my food, and it's really easy way to add that special factor to the photo. The next thing I love is tea box. I've used it in several of my photos, and I just love how it's turned out. So normal tea box with nine places in it, and I think that this photo with muffins received extra amount of love just because of an ordinary use of tea box and an ordinary way of showing how muffins look like. And tea box is not, it's very cheap to buy, but you can use it in several ways, as you see I did here. And the next thing I would like to talk about is using your clothes as part of your scene, because I don't know about you, but there are days that I just don't have all the colors of napkins I would love. So this sweater on the left that I'm wearing is also on the second photo. On the second photo, this is the same sweater, but I think that you can't see it very clearly. So I just place my sweater on the scene and add it as an extra pop of color, and it worked beautifully, and no one knows that it is my sweater. So I don't know, scarves or any pieces of cloth, you can always use them on your scene or part of the scene or just picking in the scene. Just get creative. Next thing you can get creative on is with treasures that are found in the nature. Think about all the leaves and branches and stems and cones, especially now in the autumn time when we will be creating all sorts of scenes with pumpkins and leaves. It's really a nice way to add that special factor into your photos. I had this client shoot, I don't know if you can see it, but those were products made from birch. It's a tree, and I just use all parts of that tree that I could use, and it turned out very nicely, and it was like just their product. I have this photo, I think I can share it. I can share it afterwards if you would like to see that photo. But it was like just the things that I found in the nature and their products. So try to think out of the box, try to find resources wherever you go. You can find beautiful things in your bathroom or in the bathroom department in the stores. Just go with your open eyes. So for examples, in the next slide, I've used cheap rock for adding texture. I normally shoot moody photos and go for darker backgrounds, but in this case, I just love the texture that those rock have, and it was, I don't know, IKEA rock for maybe €2 or something, really cheap, but I just love the texture and the vibe it has, and it's something that I was talking at the beginning, that you're trying to add texture to your photos to create that next level feeling to your work. And let's move on. When possible, just add your touch to the photos. So sometimes much needed special. If you look at that green smooth, right? I just those rosemary stick on a bottle, and it looks 100% different as it would if it wasn't there. Or I just made that flag with the in like 2 minutes, and I wanted to add some special an effect, and I just put a piece of fabric, glue it together, and mark a heart on it, and it was really done in less than 5 minutes. But I feel it adds, I don't know, maybe my touch to the photo and make it special. So try to be creative, try to find a solution that you only you can find out, or only you can think about, and that makes you something different from all the photos that you already saw on the Instagram, or I don't know. I believe that each of us has something special to show, and I like to use special props or special, I don't know, details to make it really mine, to make it recognizable that it's not the same as all the others. What can you also find, or maybe not, but I did find it in my surroundings, are old rusty surfaces. So some metal surface that was out in the weather, in the sun and the wind and the water, and it has that special feel to it. And I've used the same surface in all of these 3 photos, and you can see how different each photos look like, but it is special. No one else has it, and it creates that wow factor. Go and find a piece that are somehow unique and that you can ink the way you only you can. The next thing that I'm almost sure you already know, it's parchment paper. It adds texture, it adds interest, and you can use it to create layers and to elevate your photos. You can use it with all types of photos. You can see it here with center, and you can also use it as a backdrop. Next thing I like to use it, and I use it a lot, are old newspapers. I bought those newspapers in, I think, Etsy or something, and I can print it by myself and then cut it the way I like to. And it's really nice because those newspapers create some additional interest in the photo. So it's not something that catches the eye, also helps elevate the story and create interest. What I also love it besides newspapers are old books. I have a very old Bible, I don't know, maybe 100 years old or something, and I use it all the time. Yes, so it's this Bible that I really love. Or I have also some other old books that I use as my layers, or that I put my foot on, or I put them in the background, wherever I feel that I would like to place them. But it adds a story, it evokes emotions, and it's quite easy to incorporate in the photos. So you will most likely see a lot of old books of some kind in my photos. So saying all that, sometimes no props are needed at all. Sometimes all you need is a beautiful food that you can showcase just the beauty of that food itself, and then you don't need any props at all to help you create a story. You just need to have a trained eye and a sense for light to know how to place yourself regarding the light and where the light comes from. And you really don't need much props to tell your story. But when you do, I hope you have some ideas where and how to start. And just to share my favorite sources of props with you, I have unique ceramics from Slovenian artist Lukne. She's amazing, and I have, well, I think half of her collection, but because I really love her style. And I also have ceramics from Ursula's Pottery. She's also from Slovenia, but I think she also sends worldwide. And I have backdrops from Backdrops Shop RS. She has a huge collection of her backdrops, and I love all of them. Also, Bobby Bee surfaces are very nice because I like them, but because they're big and I can use them for my client shootings. And I have a lot of backdrops that I did by myself because it's just so enjoyable to make my own backdrops, and I can use the colors that I currently need for my projects. I have a lot of my props from thrift stores and flea markets, also for some craft stores, like for candle holders or for small bottles and things like that. And I also have some neutral props from IKEA and found them home just to have the base play with it. So that's it, I think, from me now. And I'm very excited for your questions, if you have any. And I don't know if this was any help or any useful. I'm here happy to answer all your questions.
Okay, so wow, the presentation is mind blowing because I have never hear someone like explain about the props that is very detailed. Okay, so this is a very detailed explanation of props. That wow, this is treasure, guys. So you guys have to follow the instruction because actually it will become a lot of investment if you don't buy it right. So like if you don't follow the rule that the Mojca explained, then you will end up like buy many kind of props that you don't use at all. Yeah, like many food photographer experience that. So I suggest that after the session, you can also see the record of the session and learn from the start. It is very inspiring. So maybe I want to share a little bit about some um, key takeaway from the presentation just now. And then if you guys have questions about the props, about the food photography, just drop the question in the comment below. Okay, so the for because we tell about the props tonight, but the main hero is the food, and then you guys have to define what you want to show. Is it the freshness? Is it the texture? Is it the color? And then, well, uh, and Moxa also explained about the small plates and cutlery. It is also very important because, yeah, if you use the very large plate, it will make your food like very small, which means like you are doing the food photography, not the props photography. So the one that we want to sell is the food, not the props. And um, I think it's also very important to start with the neutral color that Moxa explained just now because neutral color is the one that you have to invest in the first time. Wow, it is very important. And then, yep, um, I hear that maybe I have a question. You said that you also make your own backdrop. Wow, I'm very interested in this one, and maybe you can share a little bit about your experience making your own backdrop because for someone that haven't been in use make their own backdrop, it is frustrating. Like I'm not an artist that I can paint. I so yeah, how to do that and how to be confident at the first time when you start making your own backdrop. Yeah, maybe there's some explanation.
When you make your own backdrops, the less the artist you are, the better it gets. You can spill everything and make all the wrong moves, the better it looks at the end. So I have three kids, and normally at least one or two are helping me with the project, and they are messy with it. And the more messy they are, the better it looks because it has so much texture and different colors and different color spots on it. And I like it that way. So yeah, just go. But other than that, I think that Bea Lubas has a tutorial on her site about it. I also think that Bychot has it on her YouTube channel. So it's really available online how to do it. But basically, you just need some wooden board and some color and some sort of cloth to put that color on it, and it's so satisfying to do, really. I highly recommend after a stressful day that have enough wooden, so when you start you will not want to finish it. So have enough of them so you can get carried away with the creativity process.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You explain it very clear. The less artistic you are, the better paint you will make. I really like it. That is so true. Yeah, yeah. Because yeah, 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 yeah. Don't be afraid if you haven't make it, because you will make the perfect one in the first time you try. Yeah, believe me.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Totally agree.
exactly. So I think Daniela is asking about artificial vegetables and fruits. I don't use any artificial vegetables. I think we are growing our own vegetables at the garden, so I use the real one. And I would say the main thing that you want to think about is the light that you put on the scene. So I don't know what actually your question is, but just make sure you have the most good looking products you can have, the most fresh ones. Maybe you would like to put some lemon juice on it so they don't darken while you take shoots if you have to cut them for some reason. But other than that, just approach that any way you would do any other photo. And if you're just shooting vegetables on their own, just like an ingredient, it's helpful maybe if you use, if we're talking about props, if you use some vintage props, they can really help you tell the story. And it's a safe route to go. Maybe you can start from here and then see where it guides you. And thank you.
Wow. Amazing, amazing. And then we have a second question here. Maybe it's not about the props, but yeah, maybe you can share what kind of mistakes to avoid when start doing the food photography. Maybe in your version.
Yes, don't be too harsh to yourself. I think that the most important thing when you start is to be gentle with yourself because it can get really overwhelming. I mean, you have all the light problems and then you don't have props yet and you don't know how to style food and the camera settings and all the stuff, and it's easy to get trapped in that comparison with all the others that maybe are doing this for 5 or 10 years already, and it looks like their photos are perfect every single time they post something. But I would just say be nice to yourself and take one thing at a time. So maybe start with light. Light is my favorite subject. Study light and see how you can make light work for you, and then continue with basic composition rules. And then further on props, do some research on that matters, like we were talking today. Start with basics, see what makes you feel good when you look at other photos, what what makes you stop and study that photo, and then continue from there. Um, the only one that you compare yourself is the one who you were yesterday. So if you're making progress from, or maybe from a week ago or a month ago, because I feel that sometimes if I take a look at my work back, there were times when I was very satisfied with my work, and there were times when I said, "Oh my God, what is this? I'm shooting like I've never shot before," and then I produce some amazing work again. It's like it's never perfect. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not, but it's part of the process, and don't forget to enjoy the process.
Wow. Okay. I totally agree. You know what, Mokza? You are a great coach and great teacher. When you give a lecture, I believe that your student will love you so much. So I totally agree because most of us, like when we are doing the food photography, and then we are only stay in our head like what's wrong with this picture, what's wrong with that picture. Don't stress out in the first time when you are doing. Just enjoy the process. I'm totally agree with that. Okay. Wow.
So, see some other questions about lightning in my photos. So it's
Yeah.
basically I use natural light in all of them. I use artificial light for some of my clients shoot, but most likely I use natural light in all cases. And there is, I don't know, nothing special actually about it. I shoot near my window, so to have my source of light, my foot really close to the source of light. And then I would sometimes put some things to block part of the light, so my light really becomes intense and highlights the part of the scene that I really want to highlight. And then I would further emphasize this in the post-processing in Lightroom to really put the focus on my hero. So when you take a look at the photo, I want exact point that I would like you to look at, and I like to achieve that with shaping my light. So yes, natural light near my window, and then have fun.
Wow. Okay. And then I think we are on the end of our session now. Okay. So, but before we end our session for tonight, for today, I have to thank you so much, Moza, for the sharing for tonight. It's a pleasure meeting you. And then, wow, thank you for sharing all your knowledge in our session for today, and then answering the all of the answering the questions.
And if you have any questions further on, you can send me DM or ask me if you want to know anything else. Yes, it was nice
Wow.
to talk to you in 2 sessions.
Wow, we are craving more and more session. Maybe in the future we can collaborate together. Thank you so much for the patience also while we have a distraction anywhere, but we still continue to the end. Wow, thank you so much. Okay, maybe I'll see you again in the next session. Bye bye, Moxa.
Bye.
Bye.